All right, hello everybody, and welcome to my final project for one of my education courses. This class was teaching academically diverse learners. For those of you seeing this on my regular YouTube channel, you're probably used to seeing the MBA videos. This is a departure, that's right, I'm a teacher now, and this course is around teaching academically diverse learners, which I'm going to speak to in greater detail using several practitioner-based articles. I also focus just on my work in personal financial literacy, which is a graduation requirement in Pennsylvania, which is amazing. And I have a ton of diverse students in my class, ranging in their needs to grade level to mathematic ability and the whole works. And so as a result, I want to get really tactical to how I engage students with disabilities and at-risk learners and develop really strong practicum for all learners in my classroom. So of course, I teach at a suburban, relatively large high school, and I teach grade levels between 10 and 12. All right, so one of the first things I found was an article talking about creative assignments. The creative assignments resonate with me. I love being able to turn things into like slides, little movies, role-playing projects. That said, I also started to read up on personalized greetings. I greet all my students by name when they come into the room. We're meant to stand out in the hallway and do that. I think it's great, though it's not exactly what we're looking for the sake of one of these articles. Still, I think very good practice. I do use warm-up and exit tickets as frequently as possible, especially considering they provide excellent formative data. And I also help my students keep their materials organized by organizing the materials I give to them and offering them some recommendations and guidance in the syllabus on how to best organize their materials for personal financial literacy. I am also a strong believer in restorative practices, though I will discuss some limitations a little later in this deck. So this was one of the best things that I learned from the first exercise we did around practitioner-based articles, and it was feedback. I'm a big believer in timely performance feedback. I want to know how I'm doing. But I think for students in particular, providing feedback is a formative assessment and making sure that you give feedback on a routine cadence. Both of those were big aha moments that really helped me understand how to engage my students in class a little differently and provide them more real-time data. I will say one of the limitations I ran into, not only did I not know what I was looking for initially here, but also I wanted to make sure that everything I had was applicable to all students in my class, which is difficult. My next article is around setting goals. And I will say goal setting is not always easy. And I think especially students don't often know what to say or what to do. And so I started with sentence stems, which may not be directly part of goal setting, but are incredibly important for helping kids get something on the table to help them start their process. Similar to KWL charts, that's know, want to know, and learn. And finally closed out that section with learning more about SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. This goal setting was incredibly helpful and helped me, and of course, helping my students, but you have to make sure you scaffold correctly so that you're not helping a student too much with their own goals, because these are personal goals for students. Explicit instruction was one of the biggest takeaways I had from the course period. For this slide here, this is a lot. I recommend pausing for a moment. Just keep in mind it's a systematic process that slowly removes the supports for students to help them with their independence, but is a key tool for teaching diverse students, and honestly, I think great for general education too. Regardless, providing ample examples and non-examples, and more importantly, giving tons of opportunities to respond. There was this powerful passage in the text, just this idea that if you were to give 1,000 more opportunities to respond every school year and then scale that, how many more opportunities to respond students would have during their entire academic career, which of course correlates to higher learning outcomes. I also learned about mnemonics, and something from my music background, every good boy does fine. Stuck with me and used that to write that paper. Said some limitations here. Explicit instruction is very individualized. You have to make sure in that system you're able to give all students the attention necessary to thrive. I also, closing out, this is the last essay I wrote for this class, I learned about some strategies to energize and motivate students, drive social connections in class. Those were important for sure, and I'll explain more in a minute. I also made some time and space to talk about behavioral engagement, and this, similar to sentence prompting, helps students put something out there, because I often find that first step is the hardest, and that's just from my lived experience, and that showed up in the practitioner-based articles as well. I also seek to foster joy in classrooms. I realize not every day is going to be super fun, but I want to do my best to make it as enjoyable as possible for as many students as possible, knowing that school should be a place students want to look forward to coming to, as well as feel safe. I also love the idea of using a role play for intellectual engagement. I'm a big role play advocate. It's cool to see that that's something that's advised by other practitioners in the field, as well as kinetic learning. Love getting out of the chairs, doing things I think people learn by doing in some cases, and gamifying, such as using buzzers, is super fun for me. And I see a lot of kids get involved that maybe wouldn't ordinarily want to raise their hand if the question was posed in a different way. So I think that's the idea of practitioner recommendations, is you got to know your classroom, but a lot of these strategies for teaching students with disabilities, as well as students that have a more unique learning profile, are generally applicable to classrooms. I loved going into this in detail throughout this course. I'd love to share with you more in a longer video format. That being said, some future research, I found a lot of what I was looking at, especially for the personal financial literacy field, was really tailored towards younger students. I would absolutely love to see a little more at the secondary level, and maybe that's something I can help out with as a new educator down the line once I've established really strong practicum in my classroom. Regardless, an extremely engaging course. Hopefully you enjoyed. Take care.